What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what happened with the latest earnings that just came out, what's going on with the economic calendar for today, and what the charts are suggesting as time progresses. But before I break things down, all this information, before I give you guys any price predictions, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. The offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's talk about what's going on with SPY and the markets. Looking at SPY right now, this thing's in a very, very interesting position. It did retrace just a little bit as you predicted. We actually came down to 497, and now we're just kind of shuffling in this range. We're going to be watching to see how well it could hold around these levels. I want to break down some very important things about this first, involving the markets overall before I talk about the charts. So let's first mention that for earnings for today, we had very minor earnings. We just had Hershey earnings that came out this morning, and later on we have Pinterest and just a couple of others like Expedia after the market closes. So very minor earnings for today, nothing too insane, nothing too crazy. What's going on with Hershey's earnings? I just wanted to report this. Kind of mixed earnings overall. They consolidated net sales of about 2.6 billion, an increase of only 0.2%, kind of flat. Everything else is like very, very flat. If anything, we actually saw their net income kind of decrease by 11.5%. And then on top, excuse me, on top of this, the adjusted earnings per share was $2.02, flat from the prior year, with their net sales decreasing 0.1%. It's not the best of earnings from Hershey's, a little mixed. Something's not so good as we saw decreases in net income. But when it comes to their guidance, things were not the strongest as well. They're only expecting net sales growth of 2 to 3%, driven by net price realization. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is expected to be kind of flat with relatively higher cocoa and sugar costs, which is not the best of things. So, that being said, not the best of things we're looking at. The earnings per share growth is reported to be 0%, adjusted EPS 0%. Things are not looking that good for them. That's why Hershey's came down just a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Very flat stuff for the year. Now, when it comes to the overall market, I just want to mention to everyone that we had Barkin giving a speech in the morning, and we also had about 218,000 initial jobless claims, which is aligning with expectations. Going forward, we have the bill auctions coming out, the 4-week and the 8-week bill auctions coming out at 11:30 a.m. This could cause some volatility, so watch for that at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then at 12:05 p.m., we just have Barkin giving another speech. Barkin tends to be kind of in the middle. I actually showed the chart yesterday just to show you that he tends to be kind of in between being hawkish and dovish. So I'm not really expecting anything too insane, anything too crazy, at least for the time being. But now let's talk about the charts. How are things looking? SPY is still fighting and trying to break 498. This is going to be very, very critical. If we reject off this, we could retrace a little bit more. We'll be watching 497 and then 496.8. If we lose that, watch for 496 as support. This all aligns with our EMAs over here. Now, we're going to be watching to see if we get a little retracement, if we get this little rejection at first before we try to continue to push higher. It retraced already just a little bit. It's still fighting this 498 area. We're going to see if this could break. This is a very, very tight resistance. And yesterday we were pretty much just range bound. So I expect us to be range bound again if we fail to break 498. But if we could hold above 498, this thing is going to be pumping to at least 499 and 500. Watch 498.5 because resistance gets tighter the higher we go, and then 499 as resistance if we can try to break this area. So 498 is a very, very important level. It's very tough, very, very it's very, very stingy, if anything. And we're going to be watching to see if we kind of reject at first. If we do reject, we could come down to the lower 497s, get and grab liquidity, then try to push up again. But if we break this and hold above this, look for a bigger push to 498.5, then eventually 499, and then 500 above that. I think that we will eventually try to get close to 500, but it may take a day to get there, a few days, depending on how long it takes. Resistance is very tight at 498, so I'll just be watching to see how it performs around there. But SPY is still holding up nicely. The overall trend still favors the bulls, and I think it's going to eventually break it. It's just a little hard to tell exactly when. So we'll have to wait and see how SPY does. Wait and see if we get that break above 498. Otherwise, SPY will just continue its range trade. For Tesla, we're showing some strength in the morning. With the whole thing that was going on, Tesla it got this little pump to about 190 during the pre-market. But I do want to mention that we have this gap below, so be a little bit careful with this gap. We could see Tesla retrace back down to fill this gap temporarily back into the 186s, maybe a little bit lower, then bounce, just trade sideways as the day goes on. That is very, very probable. And we'll have to see how well it kind of like breaks out. The trend is still looking kind of bullish though overall, so we'll just see how it goes. I want to mention that Tesla has support at 188, 186.5, and we have 184 below that. We also have to have resistance at 190. If we break that, look for a push towards 192. So right now, Tesla's trying to uptrend like this, but we have this gap, so be very careful. If Tesla loses 188.5, watch this gap get filled all the way down to the 187s. So I think there's going to be a drop coming if we lose that. And we've kind of been downtrending since the pre-market. So there's a good chance it might retrace to fill this gap just a bit, then bounce back up and trade sideways within this range. So look for a little retracement. It's the 186s and a bounce. And we might see a lot of sideways price action right here as we have this big range to be watching for. All right. So that's it for Tesla. For the QQQ, I think that the QQQ is kind of just shuffling, but it's trying to fight again at 432. If we reject off this, we could retrace towards 431. If we break this, look for a push towards 432.5. If we break that, we could get very close to 434 later on. Right now, we're kind of shuffling around 432. We haven't really broken this yet. So we'll have to see if the QQQ could have managed to achieve that. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of stuck like it was yesterday. Yesterday, what did it do? It kind of pushed and just traded sideways back and forth throughout the day. So we'll see if we see something similar or not. Otherwise, the best thing to do is just to be as patient as possible. So what do I see for the QQQ? I think it might test 432, and we'll have to see if it could break or not. It could just continue to shuffle reject at first and then break out later, or it could just break out from here. So watch that test of 432. If this breaks, we could be pushing up to 434. It's very probable, excuse me, it's very probable that we're just going to shuffle around it, at least for the time being, not really do too much. So watch that. Watch support at 431 and then 430 to 429 below that. I think the QQ is going to try to push here. It's going to fight and just shuffle for some time. We'll be watching to see if we get a rejection or not. But as of right now, it's just shuffling around 432. And let's see if we could get a break or not. For NVIDIA is, we got this little rejection off 707. We're still holding up very nicely. Going to be looking to see if NVIDIA comes down just a little bit towards 692 or so to 687. And watch to see if buyers defend it in this range right here. So it could drop just a little bit, then try to bounce and rebound towards 700. Watch and see how it reacts to 700 because the resistance is tied up here. It might just shuffle, if anything. We might just see this thing kind of shuffle a little bit. Now, we also have a cup, kind of like a handle-like formation that's forming. So we want to see confirmation of this though. It could drop a little bit more and then start pushing back up like this. Make sure you watch 700. That's where we have this resistance. See if we can break above this. If we do break 700, this cup and handle is forming. NVIDIA has a nice upwards potential coming, and this could help the market pump. So make sure you watch this carefully. Does the cup and handle pan out, or does this end up failing? Watch and see if we grab liquidity again. Then we try to curl back up, break above 700, and push up to 707. If this is going to pan out, because we called the downside that came, right? We got some downside here. If the cup and handle is going to work out, we need to see NVIDIA push very, very soon. It could drop a little bit right here and then try to grab liquidity and start pushing. Look for a nice recovery form and look for that handle to form. If that's the case, it's going to help the QQQ pump. So watch that very carefully on NVIDIA. For Apple stock, right now, Apple is just shuffling. It's very, very boring, not really doing a whole lot. And with that being said, I just want to mention that Apple is still technically holding this uptrend, but I did warn you all that we could see a little downside. Uh, Temporarily, for the short term, it is possible it kind of like sees a little downside, but the overall trend is still bullish as we have this nice uptrend over here. So, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. It could push up higher later on, but for now, It has simply just been shuffling, and it may continue to shuffle within this range. We have support at 188, we have resistance at 190, and we're just kind of stuck in the middle. We might just remain in the middle for some time. We could even retrace just a bit, grab liquidity before we try to bounce. But overall, it's just shuffling. It's just going back and forth, kind of indecisive. So give Apple more time. It needs more time to make its decision. And we'll have to see how it goes from there. Anyways, that's it for this video. I want to thank every single one of you so much for listening. Please have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.